A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the Morning Cafe. It is the 22nd day of May 2025, International Day for Biodiversity. That means tuna celebrate every living thing. Mimea, wewe, mnyama, everything. Lakini Mumanya ameuliza how many days to Christmas?
How many? Tunaanza count. Haiko mbali sana. Kidogo tukiclock to 200 days to Christmas tutaanza hiyo countdown. Karibu sana. My name is Ferry Dindi.
My name is Ann Odida. Tuende kazi sasa. Tukiangalia magazetini tunaanza na Taifa Leo. Serikali ya maafisa feki.
Maafisa feki. Maafisa
feki.
Aha. Fumbling Mudavadi, that's a big headline on the Standard today.
All right. People Daily certificate fraudsters set to repay 460 million shillings.
This one goes a step further than what we've seen on the front page of Taifa Leo. Kenya-USA ties at risk as Ruto eyes China-Russia bloc.
Daily Nation house spying deal split Ruto men.
The Business Daily, UK's Diageo assets sale turns spotlight on EABL.
All right, we'll be back to take a look at the local dailies.
Yes, on State of the Nation today, Wilson Sossion, former SGK and UT and also a former member of the National Assembly, Dr. Peter Mbae, Secretary Planning and Economic Affairs of the DCP. I may change titles sasa. Nangunjiri Wambugu, former MP Nyeri Town. They will be in studio starting at 6:30.
DCP ni mpya.
Skiza ground. Skiza ground. Skiza wa Kenya.
Kabisa. Tukivuka border Uganda, Daily Monitor, Sale we will tame Muhozi. Yeah. Different breeds. Lakini huyu anaweza kuwa tamed kweli. Tuone wanasemaje.
They found it necessary.
General Caleb Akandwanaho, aka Salim Saleh, says they will rein in Chief of Defense Forces General Muhoozi Kainerugaba over social media comments that Western diplomats to the country say are undermining Uganda's international standing and bilateral relations. Lakini amekuwa akiongea kwa miaka mingi sana.
Na hawa ni general wengine wanasema huyu ni mdosi wao, usijali tutajaribu tumtulize. Amekuwa akisumbua sana yuko Kainerugaba.
Alipigia Samia Suluhu makofi. Akasema that's how it should be done. Tukiambiwa kila tukae kwetu. How new UPDF law pits power against justice. The new law ile ya kutry civilians in the military court. American family that has mastered Drew Kiga. That story is also inside this newspaper, page 27, a special feature. How taxes have dealt a blow to mobile money growth. That story is on page 10, Martha's Business. And on the top strip, Museveni brings good news for market vendors. Anasema kwamba President Museveni has directed the Microfinance Support Center to extend low interest loans known as Katali loan to vendors, starting with those in Kalwere and St. Balikudembe markets in Kampala, and that's the Daily Monitor.
Still in Uganda, this is a new vision now. Nursery schools to open 8 to 12:30 p.m. I'm telling you, in Uganda matters education, they take them very seriously. Sasa amesema ile mambo ya nursery school ya kukati mpaka wanaekewa mattress afternoon. Saa 2 mpaka 12:30 watoto warudi kwao.
That is nice.
Yes. So details of new guidelines to enhance quality of education countrywide, and I think this we should adopt. We can learn a lot of things from Uganda in as far as education is concerned. Leo interestingly hakuna picha ya Museveni akisalamia ng'ombe kwa front page.
We've jinxed it a lot.
Pearl of Africa Tourism Expo opens, and a very interesting photo there of a dancer, traditional dancer at the Pearl of Africa Tourism Expo. UPDF bill, how offenders will be penalized. Ile maswala ya kuappear before the military court. Why Uganda's lions are reducing, that story is on page 6. Wakona simba na ni kama wanapunguka. Fanyeni kazi muongeze.
Wetu wa Kiroma round huko.
Sisi hata hapa Rongai tunawaona tu simba.
Tukivuka Bongo Tanzania, gazeti la Mwananchi, chuma ya Chauma yafanya mkutano wake maalum kifalme Dar, wajumbe walipwa posho nauli wafurika ukumbini. Kigaila Mrema wamtaja anayewapa jeuri ya fedha kurusha chopa kwa siku 16. Rungwe sasa atemba.
There are so many stories. So many, like 6 stories in one. Yeah.
Chadema, mambo ya Chadema hii.
Hii ni ya Chauma.
Chauma, see, it's part of Chadema.
Wanasema hawa sasa ni kama watoka sikia wanasema nini? Ni wajibu wanaohoji fedha nimetoka nazo wapi? Kwani walidhani wakati tunatoka Chadema tulikuwa hatujui fedha zinapatikana wapi? This is a splinter group from Chadema. Kumbuka kuna ile G55. Sasa hawa pia amesema wanatoka Chadema, wakaanzisha Chauma. Hiyo opposition isha split.
Mapinduzi sekta ya kilimo. Habari kamili katika ukurasa wa 4 na 5 wanasema tani 700 za mbegu bora za alizeti na tani 500 za mbegu bora za ngano zenye thamani ya shilingi 17.3 bilioni zimesambazwa kwa wakulima katika maeneo ya uzalishaji kupitia mpango wa ruzuku. Rais Netumbo aliye ukatili na dharau kwa wanawake, huu ni rais wa Namibia. Habari kamili katika ukurasa wa 6. Na CWT kuna waka moto, vigogo 18 wa nyukana urais. Kule juu, kasi kuzaliwa watoto njiti tishio Mwanza. 120 wapokewa kila mwezi. Njiti ni wale premature.
Watoto njiti. Every day you learn.
Njiti.
Watoto njiti, premature babies.
Mwananchi.
Or preterm. Still in Tanzania on The Citizen, boost for agriculture in new 1.2 trillion shilling budget. Kumbuka ni pesa ya Tanzania isikutishe sana. The government has proposed a 1.243 trillion shilling budget for the Ministry of Agriculture in the 2025-2026 financial year, aiming to sustain ongoing projects and introduce new initiatives to strengthen resilience in the sector. That's a big story there. The Namibian president is also on the front page of this paper. Netumbo exposes the hidden struggles of Africa's female leaders. And she says to all women leaders, once you are in a leadership position, you must learn to stand firm on your own. You'll face many trials meant to push you off your path. Namibian President Dr. Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwa speaking at the Dar es Salaam State House during her visit to Tanzania. Another story, how SAG is powering Africa's innovation economy. Pale chini, how wave of opposition defections could reshape 2025 polls. You can see opposition, kuna Chadema imepasuka, kwa Chauma, G55, sijui anasema nini kwingine. Pale juu, Zanzibar schools to get major facelift with CRDB's 240 billion Tanzanian shilling loan. Those are the stories in Tanzania.
Naona vile tunasemanga huko kwenu ni Nakuru girls. Tunaweza sema Namibia ni Namibia girls.
Eti Namibia girls.
Haya, tukiangalia hali ya anga.
Mawingu yanazidi kutanda katika sehemu chache hapa Afrika, especially areas around northern Kenya, areas in Ethiopia, areas of Uganda, parts of DRC. So in Kenya you can actually see there's this cloud cover that's just right above Kenya, but very close to Turkana. It could affect some rainfall, probably in that area of this country. Tuangazie huko Turkana kwanza. Tuone kama hiyo cloud cover inawasaidia. And true, there's rain in Turkana. So they say it's 24 degrees right now, feels like 26. It's raining. Highs of 34 degrees Celsius today in Turkana. But in as far as precipitation is concerned, 0.8 millimeters. It's a bit kidogo, but for Turkana, any rain is good rain. That's Turkana.
Wanasema kwao ni better than nothing.
Angalia Homa Bay, tuone kama wana mvua.
Homa Bay 18 degrees, feels like it. Rain likely around 4 p.m. It's a very cloudy day and highs of 27 degrees. Precipitation here is 6 millimeters. Definitely it will rain in Homa Bay.
Yes. My hometown of Nakuru, 13 degrees Celsius, clear with periodic clouds, feels like 13. Highs of 23 degrees, some rain expected later in the afternoon, 2.5 millimeters thereabout, not so bad for Nakuru.
Lamu, 26 degrees in Lamu, feels like 29 as we speak, partly cloudy through the day and highs of 29. Precipitation here is 3.3 millimeters, rain likely, kunanyesha. 6 a.m.
All right. Finally, Nairobi, 16 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy. Highs of 24, which is very fair weather for Nairobi. As far as precipitation is concerned, 1.3 millimeters. Ini kidogo tu, barabara itakuwa na vumbi sana. So not so bad today. Isi ile hata kubeba mwavuli. It's not bad weather at all.
Yes, so 11 minutes past 6 a.m. Tuangalie traffic situation inakaa vipi.
All right, and as far as traffic is concerned, major tributaries into town don't look so bad today. Ni kama internet ndio ina experience traffic situation ni kama imekataa hii maneno. Lakini nilikuwa nimeangalia earlier, it wasn't looking so bad. You can see stretches of yellow around Makadara ile ya kawaida building up slowly. Pale, you remember ile red ilikuwa hapa Pangani interchange jana. Today is just like a small yellow, meaning that hakuna watu wengi sana. Guys coming from Thika Road, there's a long stretch of yellow after Githurai. This is Githurai, yes, after Githurai before you get to Kasarani, meaning there's a delay there. Probably that's why. Ukifika Pangani interchange, nothing much is happening. So watu wa Kiambu Road kimbieni town sai kabla wale wa Thika Road wafike. Kangundo Road bado wajaamka. Outer Ring Road hapa ndio kuna shida sasa. Areas around Pipeline, further Tasia, Apo, heading towards Donholm, it's already building up. Seriously, there's a long stretch of red there. So I think that's the worst part I've seen. Jogoo Road not looking bad at all. At Haile Selassie Avenue around Marikiti and Machakos bus station, it's green, which is interesting. But they say Thursday is a new Friday. Ni kama watu hawana haraka ya kuingia kazini leo. Pande ingine watu wa kwangi wameamka, they work from home. So hakuna haja, let's not even bother with that. That's the traffic situation. Not so bad for a Thursday morning.
All right, let's take a look at the quote of the day. The most profound joys are often hidden in simplicity. Only those with depth, patience, and awareness can truly recognize their quiet, extraordinary brilliance. All right, let's take an in-depth look into the local dailies. We start off with Taifa Leo. Serikali ya maafisa feki. Public Service Commission yabaini kuwa maelfu ya watumishi wa umma nchini wanashikilia nyadhifa wasizostahili. Nasema kwamba uchunguzi wa hivi punde zaidi uliofanywa na tume ya kuwaajiri watumishi wa umma PSC umefichua kuwa maafisa kadhaa serikalini wanashikilia nyadhifa na kutekeleza majukumu ambayo hawajahitimu kufanya. Zaidi ya watumishi wa umma 3,000 wakiwemo wakuu wa mashirika, wakuu wa bodi za mashirika, wakuu wa polisi na hata wapelelezi wa usalama walitumia vyeti bandia kupata ajira serikalini. Imekuwa hivi for a very long time.
The question is, swali ni, then what? Because wamezungumzia maneno haya kwa muda sasa.
Yeah.
Watu wengi wana degree fake. Sasa tufanye nini?
Yes. Employment is not done out of merit. Hii ni know someone who knows someone. Kama wale kudish, you know, those.
And you can imagine someone who's in campus right now struggling with that thesis, that paper, unangangana kutafuta degree, alafu unasikia kuna watu walipata kazi na degree fake. So unajiuliza, okay, mimi nafanya nini hapa?
Yeah. Kenya. Vidokezo zingine ni kwamba NEC kuhoji wanafunzi wa kigeni. NEC itapiga msasa mamia ya wanafunzi ni raia wa kigeni kabla wafanye mtihani wa kitaifa wa grade 9. Nasir na Jicho Pevu walaumiana, wamekosoana kuhusu tatizo la maji ya mvua kufurika barabarani. Huyu ni ule
Jicho Pevu ni ule mbunge wa Nyali. Anaitwa Moha Jicho Pevu.
Yes. UN kupeleka malori ya misaada Gaza na Israel imerejelea mashambulizi Gaza baada ya mwafaka wa kusitisha vita kutibuka. Kule juu, Rais Suluhu agonganisha maafisa wakuu wa wizara, na Rais wa Tanzania Samia Suluhu ameibua mjadala nchini kufuatia onyo lake kwa wanaharakati wa haki za binadamu kutoka Kenya na Uganda waliotimuliwa Tanzania kwa kuhudhuria kesi ya Tundu Lissu. Unajua wanaambiwa they're not even following up to find out where Boniface Mwangi is still missing.
Yes.
So they're being told mbona kwanza Musalia Mudavadi anaambiwa mbona afuatilie, kwa sababu hajafuatilia, anasema
haraka
bado.
Yes, kitu kubwa kwake.
In fact alisema, you know, when they were leaving they did not get permission from the government.
Really, if I need to go to Tanzania I need permission from the government. Unajua kuna mambo mengine mtu anasema unahitaji utulie kwanza, ufikirie kabla kuzungumza.
Guardiola atishia kutema City, ametishia kuacha kuinoa klabu hiyo isipopunguza wachezaji. Habari kamili katika kurasa wa 20 Taifa Leo.
Let's take a look at the Standard. Fumbling Mudavadi, that's a big story, the story we've just been talking about. Bowing to Bron, a public uproar is brewing after Kenya backed Tanzania's detention and deportation of Kenyans. Now this is our CS in charge of foreign affairs. He's also the Prime Cabinet Secretary. Yeah. This triggered a storm over the government's double-faced stance on regional relations. Even as activist Boniface Mwangi remains missing, the Prime Cabinet Secretary is applauding heavy-handed crackdowns in the name of neighborly ties, but plays host to dissenters from Sudan and the DRC. So, yeah, tunasema Wakenya hata walifanya nini Tanzania? Si ati walienda wakaprotest, walienda tu wakafika kwa airport wakaambiwa rudini.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, RSF ile ya Sudan inakuja hapa mpaka wanaenda State House.
Yes.
And it's not the legitimate government in Sudan. So munasema nini? What are you saying? So Minister for Foreign Affairs taking Tanzania's side on the deportation of Kenyans is wild. Who put these people in power? That's Edwin Sifuna, Senator for Nairobi, speaking in Parliament yesterday. Unajua sasa huyu anakuotiwa, anasema na huyu ni Musalia Mudavadi, I will not protest that Suluhu remarks because I think there is some truth. Let us face a few facts. The level of etiquette insults that we see in Kenya is sometimes going overboard. But matusi yalitokea wapi?
Yeah.
Na alikuja wakati mgani? Matusi ndio nimeona kuna matusi mengine online which is really unnecessary. But najua ni ile banter between Kenyans and Tanzania now. Of course it can get nasty. But that was never the issue.
Yeah.
When Martha Karua was at the airport in Dar es Salaam, was she insulting anyone? Anyway, that's a big story there on the front page. Suluhu gets hostile global attention ahead of polls. Na ni kama sasa Suluhu sasa atakuwa anapata very negative headlines hapa Kenya.
Yes.
Ni kama tumeanza.
Amegusa mlima.
Amegusa mlima. Crisis hustlers fail to pay 6 billion shillings loaned money. On the back page, matters football. De Bruyne, proud of Man City legacy. And reduce squad size or I walk away, warns Guardiola. And that's the Standard.
All right. People Daily certificate fraudsters set to repay 460 million Kenyan shillings. Tumeongelea hii katika gazeti la Taifa Leo. Tukisema kwamba a lot of people are, wanafanya kazi with fake certificates. Lakini ni maofisi kubwa kubwa. Integrity is lacking. Anasema 549 individuals used fake academic papers to land plum public jobs. And we see a photo here of the head of public service, Felix Koskei, as he chats with Public Service Commission Chairman Anthony Mushiri and the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission Chairperson David Ogiende during the kickoff of the Ethics and Integrity Conference in Nairobi yesterday. So this was revealed during this conference that took place yesterday. Other stories here. State to write off 6 billion shillings hustler fund as bad debt. Walisema kwamba, and this was according to Principal Secretary for MSMEs, Susan Mangeni, akisema kwamba approximately 10 million Kenyans who borrowed between 500 shillings and 6,300 at the fund's inception in the late 2022 have failed to repay to date. Over 65.7 billion shillings has been disbursed through the platform. Sasa nasema, government says it is tracing defaulters, and if it cannot recover cash, it will consider writing off 6 billion shillings.
Just write off and move on. Just write off and move on. Watu walisema walipi hiyo deni.
Unajua walienda kuomba pesa huko parliament jana.
Yeah, hustler fund.
Yeah, hustler fund. Lakini in the top 3 parasite cases kill notion of safe homes, and that's the People Daily.
On the Star, Kenya-USA ties at risk as Ruto eyes China-Russia bloc. That's a big story. Lakini ile, I think the most interesting one is Senator Oroba alipoteza kazi. Senator Oroba loses seat and legal puzzle. Hiyo ni kama tu ilienda tu hivyo tu, ni kama hakuamini. Ni kama video, ni kama drama. Kidogo you're a senator, kidogo you're not. Watu wengine wanatafuta kazi, anapoteza tu kazi hivyo. She was nominated by UDA. Kaonekana pale airport juzi wakati Fred Matiang'i alifika. She was very prominent there. Nowadays she holds very controversial interviews, criticizing the government, wakamwambia haiwezi kuwa hivyo. Pole sana.
But hiyo story ya Matiang'i, si venye tu anasema meeting is bipartisan. Hiyo ni
but then again, why would UDA chase away someone simply because they were seen with Matiang'i? The same UDA party is working with ODM. They have ODM people in government. So what exactly are you saying? Another story here, mass layoffs as state orders no new contracts at 42 parastatals. The government has frozen all hiring and contract renewals across 42 state corporations marked for restructuring, leaving thousands of employees, including CEOs, facing uncertain future. The move forms part of President William Ruto's most aggressive parastatal reforms to date. Tuangalie nani watakuwa affected. This is on page 7 of this paper. So among the high-profile mergers are the Kenya Urban and Rural Authority, the Kenya Rural Roads Authority, which will combine into a single road management body. Others are Water Services Regulatory Board, the Water Regulatory Authority, Uwezo Fund, Women Enterprise Fund, Youth Enterprise Fund, Kenya National Trading Corporation, National Cereals and Produce Board. All these ones will be affected by these proposed mergers, and that could lead to massive layoffs. That's the story on the front page of the Star. Another one, citizen opposes Gachagua's bid to withdraw ouster lawsuit. A petition has moved to the High Court seeking leave to take over the case challenging the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua as deputy president, citing public interest in the matter. Gachagua last week filed an application seeking to withdraw one of his petitions, arguing it is similar to another one that he filed after his impeachment was affirmed by the Senate. That story is on page 3. UN agency fingers Kenya over extrajudicial killings, and Raila calls for an end to Nyanza lavish funerals. Bono nini? Do you have a comment on that one?
Sina maoni.
Yeah, wanasema mnaenda mazishi mnatumia pesa mingi sana. Sema it is a financial burden.
Where?
Yes. That's the Star.
Daily Nation. House spying deals split Ruto men. Secrets, explosive details revealed in a suit of a botched contract for a propaganda system. Dossier. Fresh court filings expose a bitter falling out among State House aides, a chaotic communication strategy, and how President Ruto's frustration that his government was losing public appeal prompted the search for surveillance software from Jayesh Saini, Eric Ngero, and Dennis Itumbi. These are not new names. Sijui anasemaje.
Huyu Jayesh ni ule tuliambiwa na former deputy president anashinda State House. Ako tu around State House.
Anasema court filings have exposed a bitter falling out among State House aides. Miss Mary Washuka, who was sued 4 of President Ruto's men.
Umesema Mary Washuka, unajua kuna Mary Washuka mwingine hapo.
Yes. Hiyo lazima ningesoma. Msikie. Acha nirudie tena. Miss Mary Washuka, who sued 4 of President Ruto's men seeking compensation for the botched procurement of a digital propaganda system, has filed private communication with one of the president aides, lifting the lead on the power struggle of State House. Mary Washuka is our producer, by the way. Lakini huyu
anakuwa na biashara zingine huko kando.
Atugawie. Tuweke hapo. Anasema Ms. Washuka, a Kenyan Canadian citizen, says between November and July 2024, that is November 2023 and July 2024, she had extensive discussions, both in person and virtually, with senior state officials, including Eric Ngeno, the president's speechwriter, regarding the proposed software. And in court paper, she claims that Ms. Ngeno informed her that the president had expressly sought a tailored digital communication solution in light of increasing concern over the fragmented and often counterproductive messaging of the administration's agenda. This story is on page 4 to 5. It looks so complex, so you can take a look at it whenever you can at halftime, and it's so interesting. Anasema Itumbi was out of control and making himself the focal point. It's embarrassing.
Okay.
Other stories here. Where is my husband? Mwangi's wife pleads, that is Njeri Mwangi, wife of activist Boniface Mwangi. Family says last known contact with missing activist Boniface Mwangi was on Monday. He was at police station in Tanzania. However, before he could divulge more information, The phone he was using was reportedly confiscated. Huko kwanza wame switch off hadi Twitter. Wamesema mtu alihack. Nimesikia ni kama wanaekelea Wakenya.
Walihack Twitter wakaandika ni kama mama ametokelezea. Wakazima Twitter.
Hakuamini.
Wakazima Twitter.
Scramble for 211 billion shillings land, cash fueling UN feud, and a fight for control of the vast wealth of Kenya's richest university. Iyo university ya kina Indimuli. Is behind the crippling leadership wrangles. The anti-graft agency is investigating the grabbing of University of Nairobi's prime properties. Kuleju revealed NSSF lost workers billions in corrupt treasury bonds trade, and Haiti gangs crisis. US mills new force as Kenyan police officer protest doing the heavy lifting to restore peace in Haiti. That's the Daily Nation.
Business Daily, UK's Diageo asset sale turns spotlight on EABL. So British drinks giant Diageo's plan to make a big asset sale has turned the spotlight on its subsidiary, the East Africa Breweries Limited, EABL, in a period where the multinational has exited 3 African markets in quick succession. The UK firm on Tuesday unveiled a 64.65 billion shilling cost-cutting program and assets disposal plan as part of its asset-light model aimed at reducing volatility in Africa and driving better returns. So market speculation over fate of subsidiary intensifies. Ideally, EABL should be one of our biggest taxpayers. Kini kama kuna shida. NSE-listed brewer is Diageo's last major asset in Africa. Elon Musk's Starlink internet speed drops fastest in Kenya. This is interesting. Kenyan subscribers to Elon Musk's Starlink internet service are experiencing the second slowest speeds in Africa, following a surge in demand that has strained the capacity of the satellite operator.
It was overly hyped.
Sasa demand imekuwa mingi, imedrop. Asema Starlink downloads speeds in Kenya fell to an average of 47 megabits per second. In the quarter ended March, down from highs of over 200 Mbps when the firm entered the country in July 2023. Poleni. On the ticker, registration of new SACCOs suspended for 3 months. No new SACCOs will come up. KCB first quarter net profit hits 16.1 billion. And why you'll soon need ID to use social media. Interesting. Kenyans will soon be required to verify their ages using national identification documents before accessing popular social media platforms under new guidelines meant to improve online safety for minors. That's an interesting, those are the headlines on the front page of the Business Daily.
All right.
Once again, for State of the Nation, Wilson Sosion, a former SGK and UT and also a former member of the National Assembly, will be in studio alongside Dr. Peter Mbaye. He's a Secretary, Planning and Economic Affairs at the DCP, which is the newest party in town, and Wanjiri Wambugu, former MP Nyeri Town, will be here to discuss the big headlines.
All right, let's take a look at the caricatures now. People Daily. Matters budget. Sahi unajua tuko ile finance bill, public participation starting today. Lakini Mbadi yako ameandikwa pale, anasema you are very healthy and in a good shape. That is the budget. Lakini yaisha kwa PST.
Kuna mkuki mengia katikati ya tumbo na unaambia don't worry, you're very healthy.
Yes.
You're dying.
Are you? Okay.
The Standard. Hii ni ile story ilikuwa on the front page jana ya the presidential seal. So this is the head of public service, Felix Kosgei. He's said to be the one now controlling the presidential seal and not the AG, not the Attorney General. So asema sealing the deals made easy. So akitaka deal yote yeye ndo akona seal. So anaiseal tu and move on.
Oh wow. The Star. Bas, kuna kiatu hapo ya UDA green and yellow, kuna Matiang'i yako pale. Na kuna yule alifurushwa jana Senate. Lambo if you want to mingle with Matiang'i, endo mingle na yeye huko nje.
Bas.
Ya pandani.
Gloria Oruoba makes it to the cartoon as she exits.
This is her first?
I think this is the first time we're seeing her featured in a cartoon. Ame make it na akatoka job. The cartoon on the Daily Nation talks about what's happening to the hustlers. Hustler empowerment drive. So there's a very big pig here. Anapatia huyu jamaa peni mbili, lakini anachukua wallet yote. Anachukua pochi yote. Hustler Empowerment Drive.
Daily Nation.
Right.
Sawa sawa. Today, Health Thursday kama kawaida, tunaongelelea obesity. Understanding obesity with Dr. Daval Mistry, a consultation laparoscopic surgeon. Later on, venye tumesema public participation ya Finance Bill 2025 inaanza hivi leo. Tujue ni nini iko hapo ndani. Any changes from what caused jitters last year? Kama this year kuna mazuri na kama ina outweigh ama gani iko juu kushinda nyingine.
These are conversations that we should be having because last year at least we said there was a better understanding of the budget making process. I think and I believe this year we should be having better conversations around the same as well.
Absolutely. But meanwhile, interact with us on our socials, TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube. On X at TV47 News KE. My handle is at Ann_Dida and the hashtag is Morning Cafe.
My handle is at Fred Indimuli. See you after the break.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50 going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9.
The report on validation of academic and professional certificates in the public service in Kenya addresses issues related to the verification and validation of the academic and professional qualifications of individuals seeking to work in public service positions in the country. Speaking while hosting the Ethics and Integrity Conference, EACC CEO Abdi Mohamud says there is a vital role in promoting integrity in academic and professional qualifications in efforts to eradicate a sense of anonymity.
Apart from the prosecutions or administrative action taken against the suspects by the entities, the Commission has also prioritized the recovery of salary of any other benefit derived on the basis of employment acquired through fake certificates.
But we have come to the place where we realize that this is actually a pandemic. It is widespread across different sectors, and as EACC, we only deal with those people in the public service.
The Commission has since 2022 received and taken up for investigations a total of 549 reports of forgery of academic and professional certificates. Out of these, 134 investigation files have been completed, with 85 files being forwarded to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions and 33 matters pending in court. 20 cases have been concluded in court, resulting in 13 convictions and 7 acquittals.
To such places to get...
The EACC is seeking the recovery of pay and benefits that were received fraudulently by people who secured employment using false documents, in addition to taking legal action.
But we will also seek to recover all the salary that they have earned in the period that they have served under those fake certificates.
While working with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions ODPP to prosecute offenders under relevant laws, including the Penal Code and Anti-Corruption and Commission Crimes Act, the Commission also partners with the Kenya National Examinations Council, Commission for University Education, Teacher Service Commission, and Directorate of Criminal Investigations institutions to ensure thorough cross-checking of qualifications.
And that is why when you go across institutions of government, you get very competent people. Decision-making is wanting. People don't take command, they don't take charge of the institutions.
EACC examines academic qualifications as part of the integrity test aimed at ensuring only individuals with genuine credentials and high moral standards serve in public offices.
The amount of money we are looking at to recover currently is in the upward of 460 million Kenya shillings. Salaries that were earned by people illegally, people who used fake certificates to acquire employment, and these are public officers. And now that tells you the magnitude of the problem.
The conference's primary objective was to create a national dialogue on falsifying academic qualifications, bringing together key stakeholders to develop sustainable solutions and strategic collaborations. Mike Kagwango, TV 47, Nairobi.
All right, that's the story we want to discuss first today on State of the Nation. Kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti la Taifa anasema serikali ya maafisa feki. On the People Daily, they talk about certificate fraudsters set to repay 460 million shillings. 549 individuals used fake academic papers to land plum public jobs. This is the situation in our public service currently. Dr. Peter Mbaye joins us this morning. Dr. Mbaye has changed the title. Previously, we were referring to you as leadership and governance expert, but now I can see you're the Secretary, Planning and Economic Affairs of the DCP party, which is the newest party, yes, the Democracy for Citizens Party, which is led by none other than the former Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua. Congratulations on the new title.
Thank you very much. Here we are.
Yes.
Yes.
Also joining us is Mwalimu Wilson Sosion, who has served as SG of the KUNT and also as a member of the National Assembly. Karibu sana, Bwana Sosion.
Asante.
Now, when it comes to the issues of education, and allow me to start with you, Bwana Sosion, because I know matters of education are very close to your heart. When a Kenyan youth who's currently in school or at the university pursuing a degree course sees such a headline that people are getting jobs through fake certificates, where does that leave them?
And that's a very, very serious allegation. And if by any chance, and we know this practice has been there of fraudulent forgeries of certificates manufactured in River Road, used by unscrupulous citizens to enter various trainings. The most notorious was MTC, where Form 4 leavers could alter their grades to meet the minimum requirements of training, and then undertake training successfully and conclude and get into place of work. Others are using certificates of others, and this practice has been deeply rooted from my experience as an educator and as a teacher. And this we condemn very, very vehemently. This is not rewarding merit. The country must reward merit, even in all aspects, even in politics. We must reward merit. And Kenyans who work hard and who score highly means their capacities and skills are actually exceptional. And therefore, they should be given priority. And when unscrupulous individuals who are empty of content forge certificates, to me, those are criminals. And we must criminalize this enterprise. And anybody found to have accessed any form of employment using a fake certificate should be criminalized. That is a fact of the matter. The Kenya National Examinations Council, the body that certificates almost all citizens of this country, because one way or the other, Kenyans take exams with the Kenya National Examinations Council, have got a modern system that can confirm results from since independence and way back. And employers and government should be able to do a fresh census and fresh audit on certificates of everybody. Mm-hmm. Everybody, certificates of everybody. And any fraudulent Kenyan who engages in such enterprises should be criminalized. Okay. We want to grow our country to join the League of the Asian Tigers. When we talk of Singapore, for example, Singapore, the Prime Minister said, for this country to move, then we must keep the system clean. Okay. And keeping the system clean, it begins with
but how do we
our
do this?
Education.
Do we have even the goodwill, Dr. Mbai, to actually crack down on such, even when we know that senior politicians in this country, some of them have been accused of using fake documents? Where will the political goodwill to actually change the course that we are seeing now come from?
Thank you so much, Fred. And Fred, when I see these things, my two things run through my mind. One, everything starts and ends from the top. Everything rises and falls on leadership. The buck stops with one man, the CEO of the country. If there's no goodwill, whatever things we come and say here, we just talk and move on, and until Kenyans decide enough is enough, there's nothing you're going to do. For example, I was in a meeting, a senior government meeting at Bomas, when the former deputy president told the president, like a joke, and this man talks from his heart. I remember very well. I don't know whether the clip is here. Mm-hmm. And he turned to the president. I said to the president, if you are serious, he said those words. I remember, I watched the clip the other day. Mm-hmm. He said, the president, we can buy a stock of the pen clear 10,000. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was speaking from intelligence. 10,000 who have fake certificates in government. He said it. That was last year, I think, but one. And he said, many people are operating with fake degrees. I have been approached. This is the former deputy president speaking, Rigathi Gachagua. I have been approached. People thought I needed a master's. And he said it like it was a joke, but he wanted to pass a very serious message in a very light moment, right? And he said something. Some of us are seated here. Remember, that was a meeting attended by senior government officials, extremely senior. You know, PSAs, CSAs, head of parastatals, you know, board members, right? See, some of them are seated this side, and some are with you here. That was a former deputy president with the intelligence that he receives. But my question is, what happened? You don't need to go crying, and you are a senior government official. You don't need to go to a function of the ACC, join the chorus of people crying. And you're the nobody. What about the people? What about the students? What about that guy who was graduated 5 years ago? What is he going to do? If government is crying that, you know, we have, now what is this trying to mesmerize us that they are going to recover? Why go all the way? If government wants to defraud, if government wants to clear anybody with fake, it takes 2 weeks. Only 2 weeks to clear 10,000. Because they know each other. It's known. Now let me ask you. You are going now to chase people who got employed with fake papers. What happens to the employer? The employer knows the people, the fake people that they employed. Now you are going to target people, ask them to pay money right now. That is what we call, you know, trying to show that you are doing something. Because the employers know the kind of people they have employed using fake certificates. Now, Fred, I used to serve as a member of the Nakuru County Public Service Board, right? In the first county government. And Fred, we couldn't allow anybody. It was our responsibility. Actually, anybody who has allowed fake people to be employed should be the ones who should be put, you know, to jail right now. They should be arrested first. If you are a body, you know, parastatals, anybody who did because you knew what you were doing, it is your responsibility to check. So what did you used to do, Fred? We'd go, take the papers of the people who applied for jobs. It is for us to go and confirm with the universities. We would write letters to universities abroad. If somebody says they studied abroad, go to the Commission for Higher Education, right? Check whether that university is recognized in their country, right? Sometimes we had to send people to go outside there. It was our responsibility. So, and we checked some. There are some who we found with fake. And we stopped it at that point. So anybody, all the 10,000 who are working today in government, okay? The people, first of all, much as they are going to be pursued, let's first of all pursue the bodies that hired them, because that's where corruption starts. Go for the big fish. Don't begin harassing these other people. Of course, they also knew. They also conspired us to the whole thing. But go. That is how we are going to see. We are going to make progress. Yes. Fred, all this is drama. There's too much drama going on in this country. Too much drama. And why? Because we don't want to respect institutions. Right. We don't want to respect institutions. And I'm thinking, now this is a trouble. Fred, these 10,000 people, I'm saying 10,000 because that's a figure that was quoted by none other by the former deputy president who has intelligence. These are people in charge of this country. These are people who never went to school. Then you are telling them to respect education. These are people who are making decisions about billions of shillings, about where people are going to get water, get electricity. They sit in senior management positions because definitely they give money. They faked, well, of course. They gave money, and then they gave more money for promotions. It's a fake country run by fake people.
We should be asking serious questions about the Public Service Commission, because their sole job is to ensure that whoever is employed into the public service actually meets the criteria for hiring. If we have a body that can allow whichever number of people to use fake certificates to get jobs, surely there is where the problem is, Bwana Sossion.
Yes, I think it is also good to know exactly what is happening within government within respect to verification of certificates, unlike before. You know, this use of fake certificates happened before, and it cannot be linked to any government administration. It had nothing to do with political regimes, but it was just about our inefficient systems that could not verify. But I think over time, currently, for you to be hired in government, public institutions, to be hired at the Teacher Service Commission, for example, all your documentations must be verified by the Kenya National Examinations Council and the Kenya National Qualification Authority, KNQA. And so we now have, and these are the latest intervention measures, and we wish we had this from the beginning. And with the digital era, it is now possible to weed out all these practices. In a stroke of a pen, you can have your results confirmed from Washington State University to Teacher Service Commission or to any institution. That is already what is happening. To me, I think we are making progress as a country, and I have seen the other day, this is my own personal experience, and I played golf with a medic, a radiologist for that matter, in one of the medical institutions. And at the end of 18 round of golf, she asked me to intervene at the Kenya National Examinations Council so that she could be assisted, and asked what exactly happened. And she confessed that when she was joining the MTC, the father assisted her to corrupt and alter her certificates at River Road. And she actually trained as a radiologist. She is a radiologist currently? Yes, and a practicing radiologist. But when the Ministry of Health audited all the certificates, she was found to have scored a grade D+ in mathematics and not the C+, which is contained, which was a requirement. And therefore was serving an interdiction and recovery of salaries, and wanted me to implore upon Kenya National Examinations Council to confirm the wrong results. That is actually persuading me to participate in corruption. I almost froze at the sight of that request. And I've been very keen to check what NEC is doing and what other officers are doing, so that I can tell you the whip has already been cracked. For example, the Ministry of Health, for example, TSC. I know TSC, what they do. Anybody being employed now, the certificates must be confirmed by the Kenya National Examination Council and the universities. And currently, when you're applying for any government employment, EACC must certificate and approve.
But what happens?
Your
what happens, because this realization,
so what I'm outlining.
This appears to have been realized a while back. The fact that there's already a problem.
Yes.
And I even quoted the former deputy president talking about the same. And this was sometime last year. And I think we do have that clip. Play it so that we come back and discuss the same.
Your Excellency, I cannot sit here and purport to give you advice. Lakini, this issue of fake certificates, I think it's a quick win for us. I think it's a quick win, Your Excellency. If we make a decision to get rid of all the fellows and characters with fake certificates, probably we could knock 10,000 people from the wage bill and recover $1 billion or $2 billion. But Your Excellency, hiyo kibarua ni ngumu. Sijui utaanzia wapi kwa sababu sioni mtu mwingine akiwezana naye. It requires a decision at your level. And I don't know who will help you. Because unajua ni mtu wangu, lazima nikwambie ukweli. Watu wengi wako kwa serikali, wengine magavana, wengine heads of department, wengine wamekaa huku, wengine wamekaa na wewe hapa. Makaratasi yao iko dosari. So you will have to make a decision. Na sijui nani atakusaidia. Maybe Musalia ataweza because nilimuona ADD pale akisoma. Hata mimi nilikuwa pale.
Yes, in that instance, even the former deputy president recognizes the biggest challenge, that political goodwill will be important and is necessary in as far as tackling this issue. Do you agree that probably that's where the biggest challenge is?
No, I wish to state that operations of government is guided by the political administration. But on this one, action has already been taken. And what we need to do is to ensure that all employers and all institutions of the public and private institute audit and compliance measures that are uniform, because dishonesty, and you know where we breed corruption is through such avenues where people use fake certificates to access services, to access jobs. I don't think this is a matter that should even be political in any way. It's administrative. It is a matter that all of us collectively should be able to condemn. And if we know of one or two individuals who are using fake certificates and who have used fake certificates to access jobs, we should be able to raise the red flag, because we are a country of merit.
The red flag has already been raised.
We are a country of merit. And I've said...
The question is, what next?
And I've outlined, Fred, how government institutions, the public service, the teaching service, and others have instituted measures to verify certificates
going forward.
And even...
But what happens with the blot that is already there? So over 10,000, according to the former deputy president.
Number one, Fred, let's be very clear. And by the way, Kenyans are tired of this, going around talking. Kenyans want action. Kenyans are already tired of all these things. By the way, anytime these things happen, just Kenyans get synced. Now, one, when you say it happened before, you cannot come and say, because it happened when, before my term, I can do nothing. You are elected to do what you are supposed to do. That's why there's election after every 5 years for people to come and do something to move the country forward. So you can't say because some people were hired in the, 5-10 years ago, now it's not my problem. This is a Kenyan problem. And it was very clear. The former deputy president said, it requires a decision at your level. It is very clear. It requires a decision at your level. The question is, has he ever decided? That's the question, because it was a directed discussion. Has he ever decided? Let me tell you this. And let me be very particular. I mean, we know one or two things about leadership and governance and the structure of decision making and what happens. We know. So, and that's why we are here. Let me be very candid so that we don't confuse the viewer with so many stories. Oh, you know what happened and all that. Very simple. There's no way you can come and begin telling us in news here, very senior people of government, head of, the chairman of Public Service Commission, head of public service, coming to tell us how they have, how it's a big win, that they are recovering for 60 million. That is wastage of time and space. Why? First of all, tell us who hired these people. Arraign them in court. Come on, please, stop it. This is drama.
Okay.
Don't come and tell us that you are going to the people who used fake certificates. Who hired them? That's the first thing ESCC should tell us. Let's stop the drama. Let's cut all this slack, right?
All right.
Number two, Fred. So, number two, it is simply, and I'm saying this today, it is possible within 2 weeks to clear 10,000 people, knock them off administratively fast. Before ESCC goes on ahead with them, it is possible because they are known. I can tell you, Fred, today, all the heads of parastatals, politicians, governors, like he said, it is known who has fake certificates. So can you, just an administrative order, we have executive orders every day, right? Let's just do an executive order saying anybody found within 2 weeks, first of all, the first instance, leave government. Get out. Then ESCC, pursue the issues of whatever. But say both. Why? Because the people within government, they are the people who hire people with fake certificates.
Allow me to welcome onto the panel Bwana Ngunjiri Wambugu. Karibu sana. Bwana Wambugu is a former MP Nyeri Town. It's good to have you in studio.
Fred, my apologies.
Karibu sana. We found us smack in the middle of this discussion about the fake certificates. It's on the front pages of 2 dailies.
Yes.
Taifa Leo says, Serikali ya maafisa feki. And on the People Daily, certificate fraudsters set to repay 460 million shillings. Yes. Now, this is coming from the EACC. Just before you came in, we were playing a clip from last year where the former deputy president raised the same issue. And during that forum, it was to discuss the public wage bill. Yeah. It was SRC saying the public wage bill is too big. If at all it is so easy to get rid of about 10,000 people, probably that would sort out the problem, don't you think?
Thank you very much, Fred. First and foremost, I don't think we will sort out the public wage bill by removing 10,000 people, because the assumption is that the 10,000 people who are there using fake certificates were ideally supposed to be there. It's only that the people who are there now have fake certificates. So you're actually supposed to have 10,000 of those employees. It's only that the people who have been employed in those particular positions have fake certificates. I think it's important to first distinguish.
You don't think the public service is probably a bit bloated?
I believe it is. But then saying that you're going to reduce the public wage bill by going after the people who have fake certificates is, I don't think, overreach. And let me say, as I was listening to my colleagues, Mheshimiwa Asuncion and Dr. Mbai, I think we are complicating something that is very simple. When you have a fake certificate, you're a criminal.
Correct.
I don't know why we are going through, we are trying to make this a special case. If you fake a birth certificate, if you fake an ID, if you fake education certificate, that's a criminal offense. Why are we making it like it's special when public servants do it? It doesn't matter who fakes a who fakes a certificate. It's not even something that you need to take the EACC into. Anybody who is found with a fake document, there's a judicial system or a criminal justice system that takes care of that person. So trying to make it a special is something we need to have a conversation about. You know, we have so many people. Just pick them one by one and deal with them the same way you deal even if it was one person. You know, it doesn't matter that there are 10,000. You need to deal with them as individuals as
criminals
who committed criminal acts.
How come we've not done that? Because this realization has always been there.
That's a part that is interesting, because first and foremost, in most circumstances, you'll find that the person who has fake certificates is somebody who most probably got that job illegally. Either you are helped to get that job, so you have a relative, or you have somebody who was trying to get you in, and they needed to get you into that job, but you didn't have the documentation that you were required to have. And then that documentation was created. And part of the reason why you'll find it so difficult to actually go after that, to some extent I agree with Dr. Mbai, is because the people who are in charge of that process know that that particular person doesn't have the right documentation. And unfortunately, this goes across the board. It's not just in the public service. I suspect you'll find it in parliament, you'll find it in the executive, you'll even find it in private enterprises, where you needed somebody who has a certain documentation, or you even find it in government procurement, where people are tendering certain documents and you're supposed to have provided certain qualifications and you don't have them. And you create the documentation to support the tender that you're getting because you've already been awarded the tender. So the faking of documentation is really something that is done after the fact. It is done to justify something, and so the problem of our fake documentation is actually directly connected to corruption.
Do you think that probably lack of political goodwill is part of the problem, that as a former deputy president suggested, it's only the president who could do it?
No, I don't think it's a situation which only the president can deal with. I think it's a situation that can be dealt with I just used the example. If you have a fake ID, do you need the president to call the police to come and arrest you?
For criminals.
See, it's that simple.
All right.
So it just depends on who actually intends to do the work, number one. Number two, who actually has the fake documents, right? If there are some people, yes, who maybe the president needs to give the go-ahead to get charged, but I suspect it's not the 10,000 people. Maybe out of these 10,000, you'll find maybe 100 are the ones who need a nod from the president to get arrested. What about the other 9,900 people? Why isn't anybody taking a decision?
Yes, I think, Fred, we may be fishing for wrong things and confusing a very serious matter further. we can't describe it further than how Honorable Ngunjiri has described it. A criminal. If you are a criminal, you are a criminal. You are marched against the law, and we have a criminal justice system. And I wish to account what I have experienced in the public service. I've told you the Ministry of Medical Services interdicted very many of such officers who used fake certificates, and they were made to repay all the salaries that they've earned back to the state. I've seen such thorough audit at the Teacher Service Commission as well. And it's going on all over. And today, because if you check even how the Public Service Commission works, before you are interviewed at the Public Service Commission, your certificates must be verified by EACC. It must be. And of course, I've given you examples of TSC, that your certificates must be verified by NEC and the training institutions, so that now the measures in place cannot allow anybody who is attempting to use fake certificates to access services. Okay. That has been corrected. But then the question is, those who succeeded in the past and may be in the payrolls and in those positions, we cannot just wake up as a wage reduction strategy and say, let us now engage in this action and do this. We should do it for posterity and for purposes of ensuring that the public service is clean and respect merit, and any criminal who may have found its way to the payroll is weeded out, and that action has been done. And very lastly, we cannot make it a political duty. It is a public service, minute-to-minute management responsibility with the HR. Every government institution and every employer has got HR department. Okay. That is their responsibility to scrutinize the files, to audit. It cannot be work of the president. And I know Mr. Mbai would like to twist everything so that it looks like it is political. No. And Fred, I also want you to be very cautious to draw the line where we must bring in. Let us all agree on this table, and we all agree. Let us all agree on this table. And we all agree, his opinion is anybody attempting to use a fake certificate is a criminal who must go to jail.
We are very professional here, and we are discussing things in a very nice way. But maybe before we came, Mheshimiwa Ngujiri, just so that we don't lose this debate, one, nobody is saying the issue of managing wage bill. That's another separate topic altogether. Yep. The clip was played when there was a wage bill conference. Mm-hmm. That's beside the issue. We are talking about people with fake certificates, whether its wage bill is going to be increased or not, right? Number two, what we are saying, before there are people who used, of course they went and generated fake certificates, but there are people who hired them. We want, as you come to chase the people who have fake certificates, kindly align in court, employers. We want to see boards of parastatals. We want to see all those people.
Agreed.
We want to see them. Agreed. Don't come and tell us, celebrate. We want Kenyans to celebrate for going to say we are in the process. We are in the process of doing ABCD, unless the people who hired them, because that's where corruption starts. And number two, we are saying we see so many executive orders every day. Let it be one of them. We had expected, since that day, remember, 2 years ago is when Public Service Commission released that list of people with fake certificates. We expected the following day, in the hurry things are done in Kenya, sometimes even at night, doing executive orders at night, something would have been done during the day, just to say, I hereby, that anybody, first of all, should first of all step aside. Leave first, quit government. That's an administrative action. Before you go to the criminal justice system, something administrative, first of all, leave job. Then, number two, EACC take over. But people are still earning salaries, waiting for the process to go, That's where we have a problem with. That's what I'm saying. Fred, as my party told on this matter, the buck stops with one man, the CEO of the country. Right. That's what we are saying. And people are not seeing action. People are still languishing at homes. And they are losing hope.
Right.
Because they know somebody who knows the other. And by the way, this happens with 2% of the clique up there. The top people who are privileged. Those are people who know where to go get fake, how to use a senior person to hire them because they are fake. But the people down there, the people, the children of God, the people, the children of the people who go to, to the coffee bushes, to the tea bushes, they will never get to that level.
Yes.
So they're the top guys.
Bonambugu.
My final statement. I think Dr. Mbai is complicating an issue. First, we don't need an executive order to fire people who have fake documents.
You're still there.
No, you don't. You don't need an executive order. You just need to identify them.
What do we need? Because we've already identified them.
You see, what I'm saying is, whether you have an executive order or not, if you don't have the will to fire them, you don't need an. Because remember, the executive order, you can't have an executive order to say arrest people who kill people or arrest people who steal. I mean, it's already in the criminal justice system. So all that you need is to actually implement and enforce. That's the first thing. Number two, 10,000 people cannot all be important people, can't all be VVIPs. So what we are actually struggling with is either a structural breakdown within the system in how to deal with these people. Because if we were talking about 100 important VVIPs who are in senior government officials who have fake certificates, that would be something else. 10,000 tells you we have a structural problem within the employment system of our country. It's in public service. That is what needs to get fixed. Even as because as I said, if you find somebody who has a fake document, fire them. There's no discussion. There's no holding them. There's no waiting for an order from above. If somebody has a fake document, the expectation is they'll get fired. Right. Even here in TV47, if we woke up, Fred, and we found that your documents are not legit, what we would do is the first thing I would assume they would do is fire you. You can't start having a conversation and waiting for an executive order for you to get fired. So I think we are complicating.
As it is right now, so many people are still in the public service.
Yes, working and most probably. Let me tell you what I think is happening. Because that's the unfortunate thing about our criminal justice system as well is you'll most probably be identified as having a fake document. Then you will be interdicted. Then you'll go to court and start arguing that no, your document is not fake. And then in between there, as the way to prove whether it's fake or not. Because remember the corruption problem we have. I listened to Mheshimiwa Sossion talk about EACC confirming that your documents are legit or not. For as long as you have corruption, then even that confirmation might not be legit. Mm-hmm. So part of the problem is that if we're going to have a system that works, it needs to start working for real, not in theory.
All right. Yep. Serikali ya maafisa feki, hiyo ndio habari kuu kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti la Taifa Leo. On the People Daily, certificate fraudsters set to repay 460 million shillings. And they say that 549 individuals used fake academic papers to land plum public jobs. It is one of the big discussions this morning.
I'll take coffee.
The other big discussion is a storm that continues to brew across the region on the issues of the East Africa community integration. As it is right now, activist Boniface Mwangi is still being held in Tanzania. On the front page of the Standard, they say, the headline reads, Fumbling Mudavadi, who's a CS in charge of foreign affairs. They say, bowing to Brown, a public uproar is brewing after Kenya backed Tanzania's detention and deportation of Kenyans, triggering a storm over the government's double-faced stance on regional relations. Even as activist Boniface Mwangi remains missing, the Prime Cabinet Secretary is applauding heavy-handed crackdowns in the name of neighborly ties, but plays host to dissenters from Sudan and the DRC. What exactly is happening, Bwana Sossion, in as far as our foreign relations are concerned? Shouldn't the role of our foreign affairs CS be first to protect Kenyans and their rights first?
The matters of foreign relations, particularly related to the regional bloc. This is the East African community. And we are reviving the East African community, and it is in phases. First, we've had economic integration, free movement of goods and services, free movement of labor, that even within the East African community you can move without necessarily having a passport, and there are protocols to that. And the next phase is political integration. But then there's still aspects of sovereignty of the states. And within this, the space of sovereignty of the state, our countries are operating at different political levels. We are not at the same level. And so the government of Kenya cannot impose its political and democratic ideals on another state. That one, it is not possible. You cannot expect the Minister of Foreign Affairs to begin defending and against a position of another country. For example, the activists and the lawyers and the people who are moving to a court case in Tanzania. The sovereignty of that state remains as such. So as we progress with integration, the principle of respecting the sovereignty of the other nation is okay. And I think Sing'oei said very clearly, we cannot impose our ideals. You can't expect us as a country to impose our democratic ideals on another country. For us, we've advanced.
That's the mistreatment of Kenyans in any other country. Arbitrary detention, deportation without cause.
Now, Fred, we must have some decorum as a region, as a country and as a region, and Africa and the world. We have to have some basic decorum in terms of international relations. The problem we have here is that the worst bit is that when you are expecting hope from the CS in charge of foreign affairs to come and say, yes, I think we need to be treated better. Our people need to be, just that. We don't want the details. And by the way, Fred, you don't need permission to go to start with, a comrade in Tanzania or Uganda or Rwanda. You don't need permission from government. You can just go and stand with someone. I mean, that's just a court appearance. So, first of all, you don't need to. Let people understand that you don't need to be sent by government to go and stand with, for example, like with the opposition leader. But number two, and what is important here, we are talking about the issue of treatment of our people out there. We are asking a question. Okay, fine. If you don't want the CJ Emeritus and the other people like Hussein Harid and others, it's okay. It's your right. Fine. Bring them back home. But again, don't keep them there for 24 hours. Don't hold them there. Already that is detention. That is detention. Why keep somebody for 24 hours? Mm-hmm. Just decide, okay, do you want me in your country? It's okay. If you don't want, it's okay. We can fight another day. I go back. What is Boniface Mwangi doing in a foreign place? The LSK chairman in Tanganyika said that he's not in police custody. He's being held by immigration. Mm-hmm. What is that? How? Where? What is all this we are talking about? And I want to say this. Two things come into play there. Let us be firm, because this thing can happen to anybody. You may think this is Boniface Mwangi or this is a CJ being mistreated. Imagine, mistreating a CJ. This is the Chief Justice of a country, keeping him there for 24 hours. I mean, what is all that? Somebody like Martha Karua, somebody who has been a Minister for Constitutional Affairs. Mm-hmm. We can say, especially people in government, they went to take bad manners there. These are activists. But let me tell you, whatever goes around comes around. Mm-hmm. It can happen to anybody. So let's learn to stand with each other. If somebody wants to go to Tanzania, let them go. Our problem is, kindly, we are asking, let Tanzanian authorities release Boniface Mwangi. It's okay if they don't want him to be around there, but don't detain him. And my proposal would be this, because remember, we have to go on building our institutions, both in Kenya and East Africa. We must go and, even if it's East African court, we must go and see whether it is allowable for a country to do what Tanzania is doing. Okay. We have to be our brother's keeper. Now, like what happened in Uganda, let me tell you, Fred, again, as I finish, the moment we think we'll be celebrating, and we are okay because it's not us, because we are in government, and you don't like what these guys are doing outside there, it will come round. And I can tell you, whatever happens in Uganda, whatever is happening in Tanzania, can't catch up with us here. Okay. We don't want that one to happen. That's why we are very diplomatically already saying, kindly let us stop this. We expect better. We had expected a better comment from the CS. Okay. The Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, to show that he is siding with the Kenyans. Okay. Sovereignty and all that. Bring our people back. Don't detain our CJ emeritus, because that's now going to another level.
Okay. Bonangujiri, what do you make of this reaction by the CS?
First and foremost, I do agree to some extent that the CS could have chosen his words different. Part of the problem, I could tell, he was trying to not make Tanzania upset, but I think he also was coming from the frustration sometimes you see in government with how they think our democratic space has moved. I think sometimes you'll get the feeling by watching government that there's a wish that we didn't have as much democracy as we do, right? And you'll have some people in government thinking that maybe we should go back a bit. So when you should move backwards a bit. So you could tell that was a bit of the confusion in where the CS Mudavadi was coming from. He's thinking, okay, it's a situation where the public has moved faster than the government in terms of democracy. So what Kenyans believe they can do and get away with doing is not what the government is willing to, and that's the natural order of things. Governments tend to respond to pressure from the public. So the Kenyan public has really pushed our Kenyan government in terms of what is acceptable as democratic expression, free expression. So what we are seeing in Tanzania is a conflict of how far Kenyans have gone, how far Tanzanians are, and the conflict that government is struggling with, that Kenyans are so much further and Tanzanians are so a bit behind, and the government is over here and wishing they could bridge that gap backwards. So he's thinking, okay, you guys, I know we do this here, but I wish we didn't do it in other countries. You see, when you say that here, Kenyans are going to react at you because, again, our space allows us to respond to you like that and tell you, no, we don't agree with you, CS. That's not what we expect from you. So I think it's also a good thing that is happening, because now the next time Mudavadi is going to have to respond, because I don't think this is the last time Kenyans are going to go to one of our neighbors to try and support some political process. We've become those people.
Why is it being seen as bad manners, though? Because there's that thin line that we feel that probably we are overdoing it. We could do it within our borders, crossing to the other side.
Let me tell you what I think is happening. 15, 20 years ago, the Americans had this bad habit, as it was called, of pushing democracy in other people's countries. Because they had reached a certain point in their democracy, and then they believed that's where everybody else is supposed to be. So if they saw a country that wasn't operating at that level of democracy, they did everything they could to challenge the systems of that country to come up to speed. So we have an East Africa community, right, that has opened up the borders on many things, business. But then now imagine a Kenyan who shows up in Tanzania and believes he's supposed to speak in a certain way, and then when you speak, guys are like, shh, there's going to be pressure on the countries around us to move at the pace that we are moving. Of course, we will not all move at the same pace. There's always the country that triggers the others. So now in this case, Kenya is the one that is triggering there. If you remember during last year's Gen Z protests, and how all of a sudden it happened in other countries, and then how the other countries were shut down like immediately, right? Because their governments are a lot more authoritarian than ours. But you see, even ours, it's not out of kupenda kwao. It is a pressure that has come from the public that has gotten our government to the point where you can be questioned and be given a hard task to deal with. So Musalia is now at that point. He's now been told, we don't expect you to start defending Tanzania's position with us. We expect you to promote our position to Tanzania. I don't think he had ever thought about that. He most probably thought his responsibility is to make Tanzania feel good.
To manage the foreign relations.
And manage the foreign relations. But you see, as Kenyans, ordinary Kenyans, we expect that his foreign policy is supposed to be to push, to explain to other countries as well what our policies are on certain issues. Yeah. And that is why when Martha goes and former CJ Willy Mutunga, former CJ Maraga for some reason managed to get in. So again, you don't understand what was the dynamic that they chose to allow Maraga to get in, but Mutunga did not get in. So there are dynamics there that we also need to understand. And that's what Mudavadi should have been telling us. And then also, I think there was also a bit of a failure. A couple of months back, we were all fighting for a lady who was in trouble. What country was it? For drugs.
She was from Tanzania.
No, a Kenyan lady who was in trouble in some country because of being convicted on a drug abuse. And we were pushing. We were pushing our government to figure out how to bring them back. Now, this is somebody who had been convicted, but we were arguing that we should find a way, hata kama ni punishment, akuje afanyie punishment huku. So there's a way our Ministry of Foreign Affairs needs to align itself with the expectations of Kenyans in terms of how they do their things.
As it is right now, Boniface Mwangi is still being held in Tanzania. We do not have communication on what is happening there. Shouldn't that be the priority for this government? That if at all he is a Kenyan and is there, if at all he has committed any crime, then probably should be presented in court. Or if he hasn't, then deport him back to Kenya. Shouldn't that be the priority?
As I hand over that to Mheshimiwa Sosion, I think I would want to suggest that one of the things that's getting Mudavadi in trouble is a lack of information. Not just on Boniface Mwangi, but on what happened. Why was mother stopped? I mean, we assume she's a senior counsel. She must have done her documentation before she tried to go to Tanzania. Was there a problem? So what Ministry of Foreign Affairs should be explaining to us is that. So that we get all the way to where is Boniface? Why is he not available? What are you doing about it? Or what should his family do about it? Are there documents that need to be raised? Is he under arrest? What exactly is going on? That lack of information is what is giving MFA a bit of a problem. Yes, Bwana Sosion.
Yeah, Fred, one thing we must all agree is that we can't compare Kenya with the neighbors in the region and even within the continent. We are a democratic superpower ourselves. And this is a very tolerant democracy. It's an open democracy. And efforts of cross-border solidarity is a common thing world over. It's a common phenomenon. And cross-border solidarity is not an easy thing. It will be resisted by those authorities and those countries. And so what is happening, the phenomenon, let's look at it. It started in Uganda with Pesije. And somehow, Uganda was a bit tolerant, and even the certificate of practice was granted to Mother Karua, which is okay. The lawyers in East Africa will try and build their cross-border solidarity and try to walk across, even as teachers. I was in Federation of East African Teachers, and we would walk across border, and governments were very sensitive. I remember one incident where we commissioned a research on the education reforms within the East Africa, and Magufuli was not very happy. And Magufuli phoned Uhuru Kenyatta to caution him about the impending threat from teachers. So that reaction will always be there. And now that the East African community is moving towards a political federation where we'll even have a common currency, these cross-border activities will be there. The question is, how do we handle them so that we don't export our conflicts here and play it out elsewhere? Citizens are moving as individual free citizens within the protocols. But where protocols are breached, each country will be able to invoke their own laws and their own decisions. What we should argue as a country and within the diplomatic space, that is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, is the safety of these people. Boniface Mwangi is in custody in Tanzania. Yes, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs must consult with the other ministry. We must know the details of the alleged crimes for that matter. Why was mother deported back? Those explanations must come from that country, because Kenyans is owed an explanation by that jurisdiction. And we saw Samia Suluhu make her explanation to a political forum in Tanzania. We have seen CCM leaders and CCM forums discussing even Mother Karua and why Mother Karua even could not sell our own party NAC and was able to rebrand to something else. That was a political conversation discussing the political events here. So you see, you look at all these things, they do happen. And I think the only responsibility for government is safety of the citizens when they are there.
That should be the
But then the government cannot impose a political feeling on another sovereign state. Right. That is not possible. We can only ensure that citizens are safe where they go and coming back to the country. That is all what the government can do.
Allow us to take a break. Let's go on a break right now. We'll be back to discuss a lot more stories on Morning Cafe.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's mind. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water.
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Cafe. We continue looking at the big headlines today. And just before the break, we were discussing issues to do with foreign relations, missing Boniface Mwangi. But Dr. Peter Mbaye, I was to give you an opportunity to just wrap up that conversation.
Just that sequence. For me, we have to look at the bigger picture. Right now, we are concentrating on Tanzania and Boniface Mwangi, but there is a problem with the foreign policy of this country. Let's look at the bigger picture. It's not the first time. Now, you saw issues with DRC, okay? You saw issues with Sudan. You saw recently issues with China, America. We are not sure whether we are in BRICS or whether we are in the US. It belongs a big issue. It was discussed in the US, I think Congress or House of Representatives. Where you go, you are not sure. Are you in the West, and how do you balance? It is all boils down to a foreign policy. We have to know what is our priority, what are we talking to the world about. We are more concerned about sustaining trade relations as opposed to, first of all, safety and security of our people. And of course, making sure we don't meddle. There's something people hate completely, meddling. And you go in the guise of trade relations, but you bring in private interest, and then you're in a place whereby you don't know how to balance words. The moment you go to China and says you are not just a trading partner, there's something beyond the next world order. Who does that? Honestly, what do you think the West will think? I think we need to agree who makes pronouncements, how is it anchored. Let us not have a foreign policy thread based on one personality. Because the moment they change personality, the policy goes under. Let's have something which reflects what Kenya is. Let's not go back to where we have come from. We should be building on. Every time a new year comes, we should be building on a better foreign policy. But the problem is, a lot of times, it is based around one personality, not about what is good for this country. We need to change that.
All right, yes, and of course matters foreign relations, especially with respect to that incident in Tanzania and the fact that Boniface Mwangi is still missing, will continue making headlines for the rest of this week. I want us to move to a different story, and this is about the NCIC, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, having censured former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua for comments deemed inflammatory and hinting at potential violence in the 2027 elections. It is part of the stories covered here at TV47 as well.
Yet again, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is on the NCIC radar. This is after the NCIC summoned him over his sentiments, where he referred to the 2007-2008 post-election violence as a Christmas party, warning of dire consequences if the 2027 polls will not be free and fair.
Because as you might remember, some weeks back, we also censured him publicly because of some utterances that he made. And therefore, yes, we have summoned him, and once he comes, then we will go through it.
Describing Rigathi's remarks as reckless, insightful and serious threat to national unity, the Commission has vowed to hold him accountable by further collaborating with relevant security agencies. According to NCIC, Gachagua's statement is a dishonor to the memory of the victims and ignorance of the pain endured by thousands of Kenyans during one of the country's darkest periods.
He referred to the 2007-2008 post-election violence as a Christmas party. Certainly, these thoughts are not only appalling, but dangerously insensitive to the pain, to the loss and the trauma suffered by thousands of Kenyans during one of the darkest chapters in our history.
The Commission also extended warning to other leaders, urging them to exercise utmost responsibility in both public and private statements. NCIC also weighed in on the recent political shifts in the country and the formation of new political parties by sounding an alarm over a trend of ethnic-based politics.
We urge all leaders to rise above divisive politics and commit to issue-based engagement that puts the interest of the nation above personal and ethnic agendas. We have observed with deep and growing concern the early signs of political mobilization along ethnic lines.
Even as the Commission promised to deal with persons propagating hate speech and violence both on and offline, the Commission had a hard time explaining on their role as a watchdog where in many instances, NCIC has been perceived to be a tool used by those in power to settle their political scores.
We are actually very fair. We treat all Kenyans equally. And
Samira Mohammed for TV47, Nairobi.
Bonambugu, is this the same thing we've been seeing where governments, and not just this one, have been using one NCIC and the EACC as tools to settle political scores? Do you believe that this is exactly what's happening right now?
I think government is going to use whatever institutions exist to try and pursue whatever they think is in either public interest or government interest. And in this particular case, it's important for us to appreciate how sensitive an issue this issue of post-election violence is. And in my personal opinion, whatever the case, whether the former deputy president had been someone or not, his choice of words was regrettable. And I say this with this in mind. I'm just imagining. You know, we had 1,300 people who died in 2007. I mean, the documented numbers. We had over 600,000 people who got displaced. We lost literally what would be equivalent of billions of shillings in property. Now, I'm trying to imagine, because those people, a lot of them, either them or their children, are still alive, and they listen to somebody with the political influence that Rigathi Gachagua has today, saying that there is a possibility in whatever circumstances. You know, I've had a lot of people, and I'm sure even Bai is going to make that argument, that he qualified that statement by saying, if the IEBC mismanages the election, 2007 will look like a Christmas party. Now, you can logically argue that, you can theoretically argue that, but it's very difficult to argue that emotionally or socially, and this is what I mean. When you say there is a possibility of a repeat of a bad incident that affected particular people, we have to remember those 1,300 families that were affected, the 600,000 families. Those are a lot of Kenyans who, to them, post-election violence represents a personal loss of someone or of something. Now, we as politicians, and here I'm going to put myself in Sosion, and even Bai is a politician, we as politicians have this thing of imagining that what is important to us is the most important thing to this country. And this is what I mean. When we talk about the election, and I'm going to come to NCIC, because I think NCIC is just toothless. Good institution, good idea, good concept, but just doesn't have, I'm not sure what exactly it exists for. But we as politicians have this thing of saying, if I don't get it, then everybody doesn't get it. Or there is a reason. Because I have lost an election. I have won an election, I have lost an election. And I always say that the first instinct when you lose an election is to say it was stolen. Because nobody goes to an election running assuming they're going to lose. Mm-hmm. You have spoken to people, you have spent resources, but the day you go, by the moment of the ballot, you actually expect to win. So when the results start coming out and you lose, the first reaction is like, all those people I spoke to can't have lied to me, so these guys must have stolen this election. Now, if at that moment in time, I have the power to declare that election stolen, and I have people who will hear me because they don't know anything else. I'm the leader who they were voting for, and I wake up and I say this election was stolen, IEBC mismanaged this election. Then what am I going to do? I'm going to trigger post-election violence. And that was my problem with that statement. It doesn't matter how you qualify it.
But shouldn't we use any opportunity in our history, because we cannot rewrite history, to learn a lesson from that?
Yes.
Is it wrong to refer back and say
no,
that?
It is not wrong.
We should be careful not to go back to that.
Actually, Kriegler said those words. And that was the beginning of how we got a new constitution and we got a Supreme Court to create the capacity to ensure we don't go that way. The issue becomes when the first statement, there's been a lot of corrections since then. Even the former deputy president has corrected himself and tried to explain it. But I've always argued that when you find yourself having to correct a statement you made several times, then there's something wrong with how you made it the first time.
All right.
So as I finish, this is what my point is on that particular statement, because it's also something very close to my heart. You cannot, as a national leader, create because 2007 didn't just happen. It began with people, if you remember 2005, there were people who were saying this election is going to get stolen. Now we are talking about an election in 2020, we are suggesting that there's a possibility that the 2027 election is going to get stolen. The process hasn't even begun. So when you start saying that if it is stolen, there will be violence that will be worse than 2007, what you're actually doing is starting to set a stage for that conversation to happen without defining What does stolen look like?
Don't you feel like we're walking on eggshells here? That we shouldn't, there are things we shouldn't touch. We shouldn't talk about the post-election violence. I
am not suggesting we shouldn't talk about it. What I'm suggesting is, as we speak about it, we need to borrow the lessons from there, including how not to be reckless in the conversations.
Isn't that what the former deputy president was talking about? That we need to be careful.
Kenya, the Constitution of Kenya 2010, in its wisdom, and is one of the best constitutions, created Chapter 15 independent constitutions and gave them powers so that they can execute certain functions on behalf of the people of Kenya as independent constitution commissions and entities within government. So National Cohesion, Integration and Commission is a creature of the Constitution of Kenya, created by the people of Kenya to address divisive issues that relates to circumstances that led to post-election of 2008. And the post-election of 2008, 7 and 8, traumatized every person in this country. And telling Kenyans that the country can sink into anarchy, that is worse than 2008, when it is a terrible. It is a terrible prediction, and it's a terrible threat. And such a statement, that statement has been analyzed by the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, and they have returned with a verdict that that statement is not right. Fred?
The Commission is more concerned about the sensitivity of referring to the post-election violence as a Christmas party.
Fred?
They are more concerned about that, not the fact that he used the statement.
No, yes. When you say that one will be a Christmas party and we almost lost the country, then we are saying this country will be in a deep civil war, and you are threatening civil war. In fact, those of us, I visited IDP camps in Nakuru and Eldoret as Kenya National Union of Teachers and as teachers. We saw children in the camps, parents and teachers in the camps, and this is something that nobody in this country should contemplate getting it back. In fact, some of us who worked very hard in 2012 to put together President Kenyatta and William Ruto was part of looking for a permanent solution to this circle of conflicts and to 2007 thing. And anybody trying to bring in an agenda of creating that rift and promoting killings and even pronouncing civil war must be dealt with by the rights institution, by the law. Nobody is above the law in this country. And anybody who engages in criminal action must be dealt with. And therefore, this particular matter, because it's about predicting or planning, it is actually, it is dreaming, it is imagining, and it is contemplating a civil war. Yeah, that is dreaming, imagining, contemplating, and canvassing
Dr.
a civil war.
This is a statement from your party leader.
Therefore, NCIC is right, and it is within its armpit to interrogate any person.
Can we criminalize discussions around the post-election violence, that probably we should not refer to it in a certain way?
Thank you, Fred. With a lot of humility, but very firmly. Here we talk about the death and assassination of Tom Mboya, Robert Ouko, Dedan Kimathi, J.M. Kariuki. We talk about the Luanda genocide, right? We talk about the coup. Every year we remember the coup. Why? So that we remind ourselves this is happened, it ought not to have happened again. To remind ourselves. Now, Fred, Sosion is conversing. It's trying to converse. It's trying to converse.
Allow you to prosecute.
I'm not conversing. It's trying to rob me for some position in a show where I'm talking.
Ujiri was one of my best friends.
Sosin is a Mori. He knows when the teacher is. You should have some attention.
Yes. Let's listen.
We are listening.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So Fred, why we remember all those is to remind ourselves that this happened. It ought not to happen. It's very healthy. And by the way, what the party leader, the DCP party leader said, he was quoting Kriegler. He was, specifically he was saying, this is what Kriegler said, that if you don't manage elections well, what happened in 07 will be like a Christmas party. By the way, it's not his words. I think you should be able to get that report and one day share it so that people can get enlightened. You know, when people hear things and they are not students of history, they need to understand where things are, especially leaders. Leaders should have led that thing, so you don't come and get emotional like other people and tend to sell fear. Number two, I'm opposed to leaders who hold a higher responsibility, selling fear. You misquote someone, run with it around town, and continue selling fear, and you are leaders. You should have known better. Why do we commemorate Lord and genocide every year? Even with almost a holiday, right? So let's stop selling fear about misconception. I want to insist again. Our party leader went, and when he saw the noise and the misunderstanding by some leaders, on Sunday, he said, I have had this misconception. This is what I meant. If the elections are mishandled, let's go back to history. The 2007, between me and you, Fred, there were serious allegations, I want to use that word properly, of rigging. They were there. And that's why Kriegler said, he didn't know who won the elections. That's a fact. It is out of that perceived rigging that post-election came. Simple. We were here. I come from Nakuru. It was at the center of post-election violence. I know what happened. So what the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua is saying, kindly, please, I want to put us on notice. Don't repeat that again. And so that's why I'm saying, when now, out of the bruise, NCIC comes and says they are summoning the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, I feel sorry for NCIC. I feel so sad. I'm an expert on peace and conflict studies. Their role is completely not there. When the chairman says they have other 28 cases they are looking for, have they been summoned? Have you seen the summoning of the 28? If this, assuming this is another case, why then don't deal with the 28? Number two, Fred, we had an MP from Rift Valley saying that if the votes will not be enough, they are going to, it is in the public domain, the video is circulating. They are going to add it. And he was saying it jokingly. This is a guy who Kenyans believe talk to the president every day, if not every hour. That's what we know. We know people close to the president. And he was saying, guys, don't worry. There's no president in Africa who has gone for one term. So this is a two-term. And then I think somebody asked, or then he said, even we are going to vote. If the votes will not be enough, have they been summoned by NCIC? Number two, then another MP says, we are the people who generate 24 years. We are the people who make 24 years. So if you joke with us, we can decide to go for 24 years. Then another senator says the same thing. Now, the CS for Interior, another day said, don't worry. What is happening today is what happened with Kibaki. The government lost a lot of support in 2005, but he went on to win. How did he win? Controversially, with post-election violence. He was never summoned because he's above the law, right? He's above the law. These are people above the law. They run the country. So they can say anything, it passes, right? The other day, the governor for Tana River said in the presence of the CS that Somalis have come from a neighboring country. They have been given a location with a chief from another country. And that is a governor who is a full governor. When the CS rose to speak, he threatened him. He said, that's why you get arrested. I'm going to summon you in Nairobi. Look, because of saying the fact, combine that with another statement from Northeastern, with another CS, who said, the president was there, he said, we are the people who will make sure the final votes we are going to give you as a region. Combine that with the proclamation of no vetting of IDs. Kenyans are wise. So when all those things, they tend towards post-election. They tend towards the election of 2027. They tend towards something about that's why, and I want to say this today with a lot of authority. That is what Rigathi Gachagua is saying. Okay. All these things have been documented. Nothing has been done about it, Fred. Nobody has gone to record a statement what they mean, and they are saying kindly, don't mismanage the elections. Okay. Without going to the details of the whole issue about IBC selection panel and all that, of course, that's another story. Without going to all that, there is saying there's something that shows there could be something. That is all what Mheshimiwa was saying, and I want to say from today is the last day, I think. People should look for other topics to go on to the weekend. You should look for other topics, to go for the weekend, not continue stalking fear and inciting Kenyans. Inciting Kenyans.
You have about 6 minutes to go, so let me divide it equally. So 2 minutes each, as you make the final comments on this.
Mine on this would be, When Kriegler made that report, Kriegler made that comment, it was in 2009. The Kriegler Commission was set up in 2008, immediately after post-election violence. In 2009, he told us, as Kenyans, if you guys don't sort out your electoral process, what happened in 2007, the next time it happens is going to be worse. Part of sorting out our electoral process is what led to the 2010 Constitution. In the 2010 Constitution, we sorted out our electoral process. How did we do that? We created a system that ensured that if you had a problem with the presidential election, for example, which is what had happened in 2007, and there was no opportunity to go for review or to go to a body that could actually listen to you, because that's what had happened in 2007. So we created the Supreme Court that became a body that can act if you have any problem. Because you see, we are assuming that IEBC will always do a perfect job. What we did now is plan for what if IEBC doesn't do a perfect job. You get? Which is now the suggestion that Gachagua was making. That if IEBC doesn't do a good job, we will have post-election violence. Kriegler told us, fix it, so that the next time IEBC doesn't do a perfect job, you don't have post-election violence. And we already did that. Remember in 2017, we actually had Supreme Court tell an incumbent president to go back and repeat an election. That is how far we have come. So by the time we go into a post-election violence scenario, because of an election, we have moved from there, unless a leader deliberately triggers us to go there. And that is so we're not saying let's not talk about 2007. No. We're not saying let's not talk about post-election violence. No. What we are saying is, can you please also internalize the fact that the circumstances that led to 2007 are very hard to repeat today? Because even if an election is mismanaged today, there is a system to make sure that we don't go into post-election violence.
Right.
You can't then make it a threat. Because I had Dr. Mbai saying, let's not sell fear. Gachagua was selling fear. The reality of it is, that's what he was doing. He was saying, you guys, we are watching. If you mismanage this election, 2007 will look like a Christmas party. That should not be what we are talking about. We should be saying, are the institutions that exist today enough of a buffer that even if IEBC was to mismanage the next election, because we can't operate with fear. IEBC is not even formed. Let's assume they get formed. Let's even take a worst case scenario and they misbehave. Are we going to go post-election violence way? No. We created a new constitution with buffers to make sure we never go back that route. So that is what we should be talking about as leaders.
Thank you. Sosyan?
Playing and toying with human life for power and making statements that can plunge the country into anarchy and civil war for self-interest is not the right thing to do. What Rigathi Gachagua was doing is promoting a civil war in 2027, in effect. And that is dreaming, it is canvassing, and imagining a civil war after election. I don't think that is what any responsible Kenyan should be able to do. Let us do politics in this country, but not to the point of canvassing for civil war and chaos in the country. And that is why the institutions that were created by the Constitution must be made to work now. And there are no sacred cows in the country, as Mbai is trying to allude. If the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, and this is a time when we need it to work most as a run-up to the 2027, NCIC should also be able to engage IEBC to reassure the country of free, fair, and verifiable elections in 2027. And that is not a choice, that is not an option. The country must experience that because we must advance our democracy. But anybody making a statement that is divisive, as long as you are within the territory of the Republic of Kenya, regardless of political affiliation, regardless of ranks, provided you have a criminal case that can plunge the country, that can threaten cohesion of the country, you must be summoned by the NCIC.
All right.
And if there is a criminal case, you must be availed in court to be properly processed as a criminal.
Thank you.
My few seconds. Fred, I want to say this. We have decided in this country we will not keep on talking. We are going to move to the next level. As a party, they have completely avoided what I said about other politicians causing what the party leader said, because he was saying out of other statements from other leaders. So what we are going to do is this. We have consulted our legal team as a party. We are going to document all these things I've mentioned. Document the videos, everything, right? We are going to add all the instances where the party leader have been harassed by goons, all the 7 instances, right? Including during the launch and the unveiling of the party. So what we are going to do now, we'll do that documentation. We'll hand over all that evidence to ICC as an early warning signal, right?
ICC?
Yes, ICC, as an early warning signal. And of course, we are going to copy all African presidents and all world presidents just for record. Why? I told you I'm an expert on peace and one thing we talk about, early warning signals. That's all what the party leader is saying. To tell them, this is what is happening, the issue of IDs, the issue of statements, this is what we are saying, and we are going to add what he said and the clarification. We are going to add what the party leader said and the clarification. We will be courteous enough to give a copy to NCIC, just a copy, so that they can see. Okay? So we are going to move from talk to action. They are trying to intimidate us, right? Oh, and then don't go to a video as a CS to go saying, we can arrest you. Really? As a minister? You want to come and begin written people about arrest? People have been arrested before, Fred. Right. Let's not go that direction. If you are a CS interior, you have higher responsibility of using your mouth to contain peace. Don't threaten people. We have been here before. And by the way, the current president went a lot of attacks, a lot of harassment before he became president. So don't use what God help you to go through on other people and stop the threats. Right. Everybody is a Kenyan. We are the children of God.
Yes, the NCIC has summoned Rigathi Gachagua over post-election violence remark and warns against hate. That is just one of the headlines today. The big headline on the front page of the Standard, fumbling Mudavadi, matters foreign relations. On the front page of the Daily Nation, how spying deals split Ruto men. We did not get a chance to discuss that. Yes, Kenya-USA ties at risk as Ruto eyes China-Russia bloc. That's a Star. Lakini kwenye gazeti la Taifa Leo anasema ni serikali ya maafisa feki. Yeah. It's just some of the big headlines this morning. Thank you so much, Dr. Peter Mbaye, Secretary, Planning and Economic Affairs of the DCP. That's a democratic...
And we are doing very well.
Democratic Citizens Party.
We are doing very well. Almost 2 million members already.
Congratulations.
And growing. Okay. Yeah.
Wilson Sossion.
So we are doing very well. And
Commissioner's party.
Let me acknowledge Wilson Sossion as well. Mwalimu Wilson Sossion, who served as a SGK and UT and also as a member of the National Assembly, and Ngunjiri Wambugu, former MP, Nyeri Town. Thank you so much for your time at TV47 this morning. After the break, we discuss matters health. Anodida will be in studio with a doctor for that conversation. My name is Fred Indimuli. Have a lovely day.